So we're just doing a quick little video here of Project Turbo L.S. I got the oil pan, the Holley 302-3. That's the one with the their turbo drains on either side. As you guys, I'll just show you right here. So that's the 302-3 Holley oil pan for the LS engines. It's got a really shallow pan up in the front, so you can clear most cross members and most rack and pinion steerings. Sorry, I just got it set up against this thing here so you guys can see. So anyways, yeah, that's the Holley 302-3. So I'm just doing a mock-up here of the oil pickup tube. So the aftermarket ARP studs I use for the bottom end, they have a bigger diameter than the factory bolts. So you're going to have to enlarge that hole that you can see right here to 7/16. So it clears the aftermarket ARP studs because the factory bolts are smaller. So this hole is actually a little bit small. So just take a drill, 7/16, and drill it out. So again, I'm just doing a mock-up here. And also, they recommend a different dipstick. Yeah, it requires use of Holley 302-15 dipstick and tube kit, LS3 dipstick, GM part number 12669-528, and tube GM part number 126-25031. So you can do that, but I'm just using the factory truck one, and as you can see here, it works fine. So that's the factory truck from this is again a 6-liter out of a 2003 Silverado 2500. So this is a factory truck dipstick and bracket. So again, right here goes the stock manifolds that are going to be turned backwards for the turbo. So yeah, you can use a factory truck one and it's fine. Depth is good, everything's great, as you can see. And one more thing we're going to do is that little plug right here, we're going to DevCon F it. Put some epoxy on to make sure it doesn't come out under high RPM, high performance usage. So we're going to epoxy that guy. And we're just going to use our 2-ton epoxy right here. And it should be good. Also, one more thing, I'm going to put the timing chain cover on. The crankshaft cover is already on, as you guys can see. Timing chain cover goes on, and we got the timing cover alignment tool just to make sure there's no leaks. That's again from Summit, $45 for that. So yeah, so we're gonna epoxy that plug. The dipstick works, and we'll put everything together. So timing chain, oil pan, and just seal it up. So I'm going to be doing some more fabrication work on Project Turbo L.S, subframe connectors and all that kind of stuff. And I just don't want any debris to get into this engine, so I'm kind of sealing it up. So that's why I'm putting the oil pan on now. And oh yeah, one more thing. This is a factory windage tray from the truck. It's got to be modified, as you guys can see, basically shortened, because the factory truck intake windage tray comes all the way up to these bolts here. So you got to shorten it in this fashion. And there's instructions exactly what to do when you get this pan. So that's one thing that you have to be careful of. You can't use the full length windage tray. They do recommend getting a different windage tray, but you can just use the factory truck one and just modify it. So again, windage tray, truck modified, and we're using the factory dipstick and tube from a truck. So basically all you got to do is just buy the pan and everything works fine. So just another thing I wanted to show everybody was they give you a supplied oil pan baffle with the Holley 302-3 pan. So it's right here. As you can see, I've cut a little section out just to make drain back of turbo oil faster. So what I'll show you here is I'll just place it in the pan, and I can show you how the drain back will work with this big piece I've removed from this baffle. So as you can see, there's the drain hole, and here's the one on the other side. So basically, I've just cut a little section out of the baffle here. So oil or turbo drain back oil will be a lot quicker to get into the bottom of the sump there. Because as you can see before, it was completely blocked here. Well, sheet metal already blocked, but there was just not very much clearance. And I clearanced the bottom here because it was almost touching the bottom of the pan. So it would have acted as a restriction. So I just cut that section out. So that's something everybody can do when they get the 302-3 pan just to make turbo oil drain back a lot quicker. So anyways, just wanted to show you guys that. And yeah, I think that's about it for that. And I'll just bolt this in. They say you use blue Loctite on the fasteners, but we're just going to use just snug them down. It shouldn't go anywhere, and it'll be fine. So we've got the plug epoxied in. I'll just show you that. That's right there. So we epoxy that in just to make sure it doesn't come out under high RPM and high performance usage. Using our again, our centering tool here from Mr. Gasket. So basically what you do, the procedure is just get your timing cover on there. Basically just snug all the bolts, rotate this thing just to center or position the timing cover properly, so just to ensure no leaks around the crank. And then you again snug them down, and then you tighten them all up, and you remove the centering tool. So one thing I wanted to show you is also the dipstick works again, and I had to actually basically take my screwdriver like this and just push up on here just to move this assembly, the oil pump tube pickup assembly, over, just so all the holes on the oil pan line up exactly straight on the threaded holes, because there was a little bit of interference here. And so yeah, just move that over a little bit once you got everything tightened down, and then there should be no problem installing the oil pan. And again, I modified the baffle just so there's better turbo oil drain back. I just cut a section out of it, as you guys can see here. So I'll pop this on. I got the centering tool on there, and I'll show you what it looks like when everything's buttoned up. Again, the dipstick and the oil pan work good together. I did a mock-up fit and everything clears nicely, as you can see here. So, and again, the modified windage tray that we basically, it's just a factory stock truck one, and I cut a big quarter section out, and then this little fancy configuration here. The instructions show exactly what the dimensions should be, so don't worry too much about that. And again, enlarge this hole here so it clears the aftermarket ARP studs. So we've got the timing cover on here to show you with the centering tool, as you guys can see. So basically, yeah, again, we just put the centering tool in, snugged all the bolts down, and of course we have our one-piece brand new Jegs oil pan seal, or gasket I should say. So we're going to use that, and I'll put the pan on and then show you guys how this whole system works. Okay, one thing I forgot to do is where we're going to, actually I didn't forget it, but we're going to put a little bit of silicone in the four corners. 1, 2, 3, and 4. So just 4 dollops of silicone right where everything meets, and it should be good. It would probably work without putting the silicone in, but we'll just do it, and then there shouldn't be any leaks. So again, timing cover's on, crank cover's on, and then we're just going to put the oil pan on. The timing cover bolts are now snugged down, and we've put silicone in the 4 corners here. 1, 2, 3, 4, and to show you here. So this is a centering tool. So if we can turn that nicely with the timing cover bolts snugged, that means the seal is on center. And when we put the harmonic damper back on, should be no problems because that's positioned correctly now. And so we'll just put the one-piece seal on here, like so. Everything lines up, and I did chase all these holes with a tap just to make sure the threads are clean, and likewise for the timing cover bolts, all the threads were chased with a tap. So that's, I think it's an 8x125 pitch metric. Anyways, I'll bolt the pan on and show you what it looks like when it's done. So just finished the Project Turbo L.S oil pan install. That's the Holley 302-3 unit. As you can see here, it's basically on. All the fasteners are in. Factory truck dipstick does work. As you've seen in the previous scenes, lots of clearance. One thing I wanted to show you though is the you can see the turbo drain on this side. This is the dipstick side, so it's going to be the passenger side where people mostly put their turbos. The oil pickup tube kind of goes right in the way of the turbo drain. I think there's enough clearance for the oil to drain back because it is round, so there's adequate clearance on you know, because there's a radius there. So, but anyways, just a note there, and just take that into account. So again, here's the pan bolted in. Turbo drain on this side, it's just, there's nothing in the way, no pickup tube, so that's good. So maybe this would be the driver's side. If you're putting a turbo there, should be no problem at all. And there you go, oil pan install for the Turbo Project L.S. So it's about 3:30 a.m. and I wasn't satisfied with, as you saw in the previous scene, the oil pump pickup going in front of the turbo drain. As you guys can see here, here's the pickup. So basically the turbo drain was about here, and it was the tube was basically right in front of there. I'm sure there was enough clearance, but I wasn't satisfied. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open it up a little bit. Here's the turbo drain side, and I just put the fitting in there just to identify how far up approximately it's going to go. So as you guys can see, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to grind with my air grinder. Just open this up a little bit. Actually, yeah, open this up right here and open up all the way around, just so the oil drains back quicker and more efficiently instead of being blocked by that tube. And I might even cut this little section out right here, because this is the path the oil is going to take. So even though there is clearance here, but I think I might just cut it right out. And I'll show you guys when I'm finished. So I just finished grinding some clearance around that turbo oil drain back hole. I'll show you right now. So as we can see here now, it's a lot. We have a lot more clearance as the oil pump pickup tube is in the way, and also I cut away this area down here, just so the oil drains back quicker. The oil returns from the turbo. Once I have this installed on the back on the engine, I'll show you guys again. So it's about 4 a.m. now, and I got the pan on. I ground some clearance on the turbo oil drain back hole. As you guys can see here, hard to see, but let me just go get my flashlight. So as you can see now, there's kind of a lot more clearance there. It almost looks like the other hole, because I ground a big chamfer in there. So we should have no problem with oil getting back. And another thing I have to do is the 10 mil or 8 mil fastener here was stripped out, so I just drilled it out with a 5/16 inch drill bit, and I tapped it with a 3/8 UNC and just used a header bolt there. So now I got really good positive engagement, and it's actually clamping down the oil pan, because before the fastener was just spinning and not the threads must have been stripped there. So anyways, so oil pan back on, clearance ground into the other side turbo drain hole, and the bolts are all snug, and should be good now. So we should be able to get to the next step here. So once again, guys and gals, thanks for watching.